All too often, the video games industry frames war as a background for first-person heroics. The unrelenting horrors that occur on the battlefield every day are regularly turned into an amalgamation of pasteurized events that cream off any of the more unpalatable situations and leave little lasting impact on the player. 1111 is not that sort of game, not by a long shot. 1111 Memories Retold is a narrative tale that spans the end of the world's first Great War. It follows two protagonists from either side of the trenches as they follow their own path through the conflict's final days. It endeavours to uncover the reality of war as two men battle with their own humanity and strive to make it back to their loved ones. As you browse Bandai Namco's portfolio of games, this title definitely stands apart. Blistering anime adaptations, Dragon Balls, and online beat-em-ups are a distinct world away from the horror that hangs over this title. The visual impact that it makes is certainly undeniable, and we took some time to sit down and talk with the minds behind 1111 about this seminal game. Hi, it's Ed here, and we're at Gamescom 2018 taking a look at 1111, a new game from Bandai Namco that you might not necessarily expect. I'm here with two people involved in the game, and why don't you both introduce yourself for anyone watching?
So my name's Danny Fagan. I work at Aardman and kind of have been around from the very beginning of this project, bringing it into creation and helping with the creative team.
And my name is Lovisa Lionel, and I'm the producer for the title for Bandai Namco.
Thanks a lot. And why don't you tell us, again, just a little bit about the game itself. It's the sort of game that we wouldn't necessarily, as I've said, expect from Bandai Namco, who have lots of really cool anime and fighting titles, but this is a very different sort of narrative project.
I'll let you start
First,
with Bandai Namco.
for a publisher perspective, well, yes, we are known for all the anime stuff, but recently in Europe we tried to cover all the bits that we don't have in the portfolio. So basically this is part of the effort to say, okay, we can do anime game, but we also can do different narrative, very realistic game. And this one was more like, oh, we want to have a game in the portfolio that means something. Yeah. And that's we can show that we can be there for very important part of history and have like something completely different and just having something very not just a game, something that will bring something more to the game industry than just something fun to play, but something that have a sense. And okay, now video game is not something to play with, but it's really some kind of piece of art that you can get.
And I think from Aardman's point of view, this is just exactly the kind of game that we've always wanted to and have always been, like our destiny has been to come and try and make this, because it's about strong narrative. It's talking about people and humans, and it draws you through with emotions. And so when we met Johan from DigixArt, it was that kind of conversation around his previous games and what he'd made, but his drive to tell narratively driven stuff through the emotional connection you get with a game. So the choices you make and the decisions you do, and that, for me, was like the perfect place for Aardman to kind of take a step to making games.
Yeah, and that's, as we've discussed, it's a different sort of game for Bandai, but it's a different step for Aardman as well to get involved in making video games. Why did Aardman make that step into video games? Was it something you were looking to do, or was it something that just happened by chance to be the right alignment?
Yeah, I think with any organisation you have many brains, all different things, and so for me personally, I joined Aardman 10 years ago. This has been a constant dream. It's always been like, we want to make games, there's something there, but I think Aardman generally, its heart is not about TV and films. It's just something it does. Its heart is around telling stories, building universes, building characters that people connect with, and the platform is not irrelevant, but it's kind of, everyone's there for us to want to grab and take on. So the combination of kind of general geekiness in storytelling and the desire to tell stories leads us to many platforms. This is just kind of the interactive team's passion has been gaming. So
yeah, and and it's a very different visual style from what most people come to expect from Aardman. Obviously, people who are fans of Aardman are, as you said, used to like Wallace and Gromit and the TV and even Early Man. There's a very visual style that's distinctly Aardman. What were the challenges of kind of moving away from that towards what is it's almost like a painting?
Yeah, so for Aardman, I mean, Aardman actually do a lot more than people expect in terms of animation. It's a huge animation house, and so its style of animation doesn't just cover stop motion. So it kind of, that bit didn't seem that unusual or different. I think what was quite a new challenge for the brains that were connected with it is about real time. It's about getting that thing to do it in an engine that where you have milliseconds.
Yeah, certainly. And going from that, obviously, we've talked about the distinctive visual style, and it's almost like a painting that you're playing with. There are obviously some challenges with getting an engine that you're telling to paint rather than just render. How did you come about overcoming those sort of challenges?
Shall I go for it again? A bit more, then you can join in. I would say, I mean, it was a challenge. It was done in the best way that all these things are, with pure naivety at the beginning. We were like, we can make this happen. It was like optimism and naivety of throwing ourselves at it, just believing that we could do it. We'd done a similar piece in a linear piece before, where we had endless amounts of rendering time. So we kind of understood the desire and to do it, but the whole technique was totally different. So behind the scenes, actually, what's happening is there's a 3D engine. It's picking everything up. It looks a little bit like a PlayStation 2 game when you switch off the kind of system that's there. But on top of all of that information around color and shape, there's then decisions that have had to be made by our artist on the type of brush that's used, the quality of the line, whether it moves, whether it changes space every time from every frame, and though that part of it was a bit that I think we have grown to appreciate quite how many decisions a human artist makes when putting together a painting, and then have had to try to rebuild into the technical system to allow the computer to make those decisions.
Yeah. Were you wanting to jump in, or?
We're done? All right, okay.
Just like kicking back and like that's what I was going to ask going forward though is obviously beyond the technical challenges, there's three different kind of entities here. You got DigX, Aardman, and Bandai. How did you cope as those three different entities working together? Because again, it's been a different sort of relationship that Bandai would have had to forge with Aardman and DigX from the other studios that you work with on a regular basis. If you want to.
Yeah, I think it's complicated and easy in the same time. It's complicated because when you have different people in different places, communication become an issue. So basically, you have expectation that someone do something which he doesn't because he didn't know he need to do, and you have all those kind of trouble that's basically in daily basis you need to solve. But also, I think it was quite easy in the way that basically everyone in the game is putting what he's good at. So the production is split between entities that basically do one part, which is Aardman will do everything that's relating to the art style, visual, animation, and basically everything that is something you see. On DigixArt, they are more working on the game story, coding, and stuff that you will experience. And probably as a publisher, Bandai side, we basically work many on the stuff that you hear, because with the music and actor we put in to get the global mix that make it work.
I think what's quite nice as well is that, and Johan kind of had this in his head from the very beginning, is he liked the idea of many nations coming together to build something about a conflict of many nations that were apart. So, and that's a kind of, it's nice to have a depth even to the way that we've been working. So
he's a total war geek.
He's a war geek and he's an idealistic, so it's great. So
collectioning time and keep. If you go to the studio, you will see one stuff everywhere.
And it's obviously it's a very appropriate time for a story like this to come out. It's obviously a story about World War I and about the people in it. And how do you feel that it really brings that story to a generation that may not even know anyone that has been impacted by that at all?
I think if you may, I think World War One was a team, but it's not centered to the game. The most important bit was the story of two guys that's coaching very unexpected events in the way they didn't want it to. And basically, the central piece of the game will be the story of those two characters that are going there. Then war come on top of it.
Yeah.
But it's never been like, oh, we are going to make a war game, we are going to make a World War One center game. It's more like, oh, let's make the story of very unnatural guy for being in the video game, because you usually have the image of the video game guy that is like having a voice like this and strong and a gun and shooting back. No, we wanted to have normal people coach his very unnatural events and then try to create a story around this and have the player feel what they do feel on the time.
Yeah.
And the only thing I was going to add to that is I think what you're saying there, though, is one of the reasons why we wanted to make it. It was one of the conversations we were having very early with Johan, is that the people that can tell these stories, that could be standing in front of us and telling us the truth and the honesty about what happens, they're not around anymore. And so it felt important to try and tell an honest representation and story of the things that happened, and let some of those stories kind of live so that people can continue to experience them as well.
Mm-hmm. And other than that, obviously, we want to make sure everyone knows what platforms this is coming out on, when it's coming out, and where they can find out more about the game.
So, the game will come out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and it's coming out November 9, 2018, just for the centenary of the end of World War One.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and thank you both for your time today.